All right, guys. We are on chapters 2 and 3 of Getting Over Yourself. And I'm really excited that y'all are here. For those that are going to be listening to this later after this live together, make sure you're still accountable to the homework and the conversations and commenting, etc. So make sure that you do that if you're not with us live. I'm so excited to have the guys that are here right now. And it's going to be a really good conversation. So we're going to get moving because we saw last week it just takes time to get through everything, and I really want to hear from you. So I'm going to get us moving. Okay, guys, give me 2 seconds. I have a child that's coming in. Hang on. For all of y'all young mamas, I can't wait for you to have an 18-year-old boy. It's just, if I could show you what he has on his body and he thinks it's legit. Okay, so we're going to get started. Sorry, I need to show y'all the picture I just took of him 5 minutes ago with the clothes he has on. All right, let me find where I put me so that we can share this. I don't see it anywhere. Okay, give me 2 seconds. I apologize. I have it right here, and I don't know why it's not popping up. So here we go. All right, here. Okay. So let's get going. This is chapter 2, and it is all on your why. And we're going to talk through, why are you here? Why are you doing this business? And I think that this is such a great conversation for all of us to kind of get into this and see why we're doing it. And it's going to be, honestly, it's what drives you. And I'll be honest, I think that this is the hardest piece for us. Everything that we're doing, we have to not only know what it is for ourselves, but we have to know how to pull that out of our level ones that are business builders, how to help them see what their why is way up front and really help them dig in deep so that they can have longevity and persevere and keep moving forward. And if I felt like that there was a weak link anywhere, this would probably be one of the weak links that I would see, even for myself, of bringing on level one. So this is so critical, not just for you, but for you to really, guys, really, really, really work through what it means for you so that you can turn around with passion and just experience to help the next person of your level ones and their level ones, to be able to teach them the importance of this. Because I believe that we lose a lot of people because they jump in and they think that it's going to just be kind of easy going, and they really haven't evaluated, like, why am I doing this? And whenever they get down deep on that, I think that they can persevere a little bit better. So let's look at this a little bit. So you got to know your why. You got to know why you're building a business, specifically with Plexus. Why health and wellness? Why network marketing? Why did you take the risk for $34.95? What does that vision and that dream look like? And you've got to look at that, and you got to know that, because there's too many things that are vying for our time and our attention in life. And we've seen that. I mean, over the last couple of months, I've kind of watched our team, and you guys have seen it too. It's either you personally or you're seeing it within your team, that we're just kind of getting bombarded with different things that are going on in life. Health issues, relational issues, family issues, death, illnesses, job loss, children going through different things that they're going through. And that's just life. But for a lot of us, if we don't know our why, and we don't know why we're building a business, this can be put on the back burner so quickly. And then a month later, we're kind of like, how did I get here, and what happened to my business, and why did I lose everybody, etc. So that's why this is so important. And one thing that she says is that you have to see it, smell it, taste it. It has to move you deep in your soul. And I loved how she spoke towards that. You've always heard that your why needs to make you cry. And I know that whenever I went to, well, I'll tell you this. I know that when I first originally heard my sponsor, Rosalind Payne, share her why of her son and therapy and how the insurance didn't pay for that. And when I heard her story of having 3 jobs and doing everything that she did and wanting so badly to be a mom, her why moved me so greatly. And it just, there's something with it. So I think that it's twofold. I think that your why is for you to have drive to get up every day and do it again, or have to stay up extra one night because you haven't done your IPAs, whatever that looks like. But also your why is going to drive your team. And because you're going to resonate, and they're going to resonate with you. And I heard Andrea Mitchell in an interview last year say that she loved Roz so much, and they've been friends for so long. And Roz was her boss in the corporate world whenever they were at an ad agency. But she was so driven by Roz's why of her son and having 3 jobs, that is what drove Andrea. Andrea didn't necessarily need the finances because they're comfortable financially. Now, she definitely has done so much with Ella, her daughter, and they've now built a home that is accessible in every room on every floor for their daughter who's in a wheelchair. But when she started this business, she started it because of her upline's why. And that was powerful to me when I heard that, because Andrea is her strongest leg. And Andrea was driven. She said, I was going to do anything and I was not going to stop until Roz was home with her babies. And just think about that. I mean, if we really can dig deep, which none of us, I shouldn't say none of us. There are many people that just don't like emotion and they don't like to go deep. And so this does take work. Whether you enjoy emotion or don't enjoy emotion, whether you know yourself well and can communicate words well or not. But your why is the key. It's kind of your lifeline to longevity and being an entrepreneur, period. Whether it's multi-level marketing or going and buying a Chick-fil-A franchise. Like, you have to have a purpose and a why behind it to be able to do it, because it's hard work. So it also keeps you really accountable. And it keeps you accountable to yourself, but it also keeps you accountable to your tribe, to your people, to your upline, to your sidelines, to those that you've gotten really close with, of saying, keep me accountable. Like, remember this for me. It's another big thing. If you'll work through this with your level ones, it helps you keep them accountable, because it lets you know how they tick and what moves them. And you can share that with them with grace whenever they're having a hard day or things that are going on and they kind of have some hiccups in the road and they kind of fall off. You can graciously come beside them and be able to say, hey, remember whenever we first talked and what that looks like. So she was sharing with us that it's not about the money, but about what the money can do for you. So when you are figuring out what that deep-seated why is within you, it's what the money can do. It has to be about you. And I thought that this was so key. And I want to hear from some of y'all. So I hope that if you haven't taken notes in your book, I hope you're taking notes right now and kind of asterisking some things. Because I want you to talk about this. If this is resonating with you, I want to hear from you. But she says that it has to be about you. It can't be about your kids. It can't be about your parents. It has to be for you. And this is hard because we often never see me in any equation in life. And I think that that's so important to think through, because even with myself, my why has a lot to do with other people. And I do think that it evolves there. But in the very beginning, it has to be about you, because you're the one that's doing the hard work. And so it has to be that piece. But as we saw with her why and how it evolved, it did bring in husband, it did bring in children, it did bring in team, it did bring in the world, because in the end, she had a really huge why that goes globally. But in the beginning, it had to be her. And she gave us so many great stories of women and men that were working through a process, and they were getting stuck in their business. And a lot of that being stuck was because their why wasn't deep enough. And it made me just think about all of us. This might not be the reason that you're stuck, but this could definitely be part of the reason why you're stuck. So I asked the question today on my team page. Hopefully you saw it. If you had unlimited time, money, and resources, what would you do and why? If you noticed, I'm sure you didn't, I went and kind of kept evaluating it. But for the most part, most people just said what they would do and not why. And I thought that was really interesting, because once again, that's our weak link. We do something, if you will, from a surface standpoint, which I'm not saying that they're surface answers, but we just are like the tip of the iceberg, and we don't go deep. And I don't know which one it was. It might have been someone on this call. I don't recall who the ambassador was, but I think it might have been, I don't know. But anyway, she said that she wanted to travel, and that she wanted her kids to travel. And so she had unlimited time, money, and resources. That's what she would do. And all I thought was, but why? I mean, because there has to be a deeper reason. So in my mind, I was like, is it because you've never been able to travel before? Is it because you want more for your children than what you had growing up? Is it because traveling means something to you that has an equation of your why? But I thought, man, if we can't really speak towards, if we had all of this, what would life look like, and what would we do with it, and the reason for it? I mean, how are we going to communicate that to others? But how are we going to be driven ourselves if we really don't get down deep? And, you know, for me, my why is very much of a financial security, and it has been all of my life, and it goes way back. It's very, very rooted for me. My dad was an entrepreneur, and he was very successful. He did a great job, but I felt like that we were, I don't even know we were richly in poverty, if you will. Like, everything went back into our businesses, and we really, you know, worked every month on making ends meet, and we would, you know, rob Paul to pay Peter. And we lived in this kind of world of making the world think that we were better off than we were because of our businesses, because I felt like that my dad thought that we had to live at a certain level. And there was incredible anxiety in all of that. And I've always financially, that's just a security blanket for me. That's why I want to live debt free. There's just a lot of pieces, but rooted deep, 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 deep inside, it comes from my past. And that is a security for me. And it is a deep enough why. And I have a lot, you know, my why has expanded. But deep, deep, deep down is that Melissa Shaver needs to know that I can take care of myself and my entire family if I ever had to with this business, because I need that financial security to know that if anything else happened with my husband or anything within our family, that we had that financial security. And that all comes from growing up. So there's a deep-seated reason for you to feel the way that you do as to why you're doing this. And my reason keeps me up at night if I need to be up and working. It gets me up early in the mornings. Whenever I worked full time, it kept me, you know, not doing lunch hours or whatever it was, to be able to work my business to get to a certain level. So you've got to keep asking those questions towards why, and really get down deep and be vulnerable and honest with yourself. And then you can create that and word that in a way that you can share with others. So deep down inside, there's something that you're scared to let come out into the light. And my thing is just don't be afraid, because it's actually going to set you free. You know, my insecurities financially, it's that fear. If you have all the fear, it can hurt your marriage. It can hurt your jobs. It can hurt your identity. You can worship finances. If you don't watch yourself, you can really make that your idol, which I hope that none of us get caught up in all of those pieces and run after the wrong thing and not the Lord. But if you can really figure it out and speak it, it really will set you free in some different ways. And it will drive you and give you passion and excitement and compassion for other people. So it really will birth something in you, and you just don't know it unless you work hard towards it. So if you're currently struggling to do your business every single day, your why isn't enough, is what she said. And I would like to hear from you guys on that. Do you feel like that you're struggling every day? And going through this, did you really do the work this week to think through that and think if it was because of your why and that it's not strong enough? Doing this only for my husband isn't enough. It only make me bitter, possibly, towards him if he wasn't doing his part. And doing this for my children isn't enough. It only made me feel like I wasn't actually enough for them in the end. I mean, if we're doing this, fighting to get to a certain place, it can really harm us in the end if we don't see the fullness of what we're doing. But doing this for me, for my significance, for my purpose, for my security, so that all the other pieces come into the equation. But that's later, right? That's what she was saying, is it's got to be you first, and then my husband can come into the equation, and my children can come into the equation, and my parents and in-laws can come into the equation. But I really had to get deep with why I was personally doing it and what it looked like for me. So when I do this for me, I better myself, which betters my surroundings, which in the end betters my spouse and children and church community. But it can't be for them in the beginning. It has to be for me. Do you guys agree with that? I mean, I'd like to just see a show of hands on, is there an agreement towards that? Okay. It's really, you kind of, even in this book, I really did, even like doing these things, I had to really kind of pull back. I'm a very simplistic person. You can kind of see with my bullets. I really have to break it down to a simple form to get it and to know it and for it to make sense. But when you see it like this, it makes full sense of what's going on. So you need a bulletproof why to get you through the tough times, to sacrifice your comforts, your time, your sleep, even if that's only for a little while. They're always saying, you've got to sacrifice. In those first 2-3 years, it's going to be a lot of sacrifice, and it might have to be a little bit more sacrifice. And I go through stages where I have to go to my husband, my shareholder, and say, I've got to sacrifice a little bit more in this area. And are you with me on that? And so you're going to have those periods of sacrificing for those seasons, but sacrifice must happen to get your business growing and stable, and depending on where you want to be. And my sacrifice looks totally different today than it did whenever I was working full time. My sacrifice, the equation is different. A lot of my sacrifice today is sacrificing for my team as well, and being there 100% whenever I'm needed in those different ways. And that really does take up a lot of time. So then the sacrifice comes in for me doing my own personal IPAs and figuring out all of those things. Sacrifice also means something different for me, because I want you to hear this from an emerald, because whenever I'm sitting here talking about sacrifice, I don't want y'all to be like, so we still have to sacrifice at Emerald. I think that it all depends on your own personal goals. And I have some pretty strong goals for Sapphire and Diamond. So because of that, I'm sacrificing in specific areas because I have pretty heavy goals. And we're going to talk about goals tonight. So hear me on that, because your world might look different depending on what your goals are. Your why is key to your recruiting power. I thought that this was so important for us to hear. I don't know if I'm going to find it real quick. Yeah. She says on page 27, she's talking about Pamela. Pamela didn't have a reason to keep building. Without continued recruiting, she demoted in title. So she was talking about her why and how she actually went backwards. And her why kept her from recruiting. I thought that that was such a powerful statement. I was asked yesterday or today, I think I've been asked this multiple times in the last 2 days, like, what's the number one thing that I need to do? If I could only choose one thing, what is the one thing that I need to do? And guys, it's recruit. If you are not sharing and meeting new people and asking them to join you in recruiting, you're not going to grow, especially being on the road to Maui. And so your why is a heavy piece of that recruiting power. Stop relying on your team to recruit for your growth. And I probably stepped on some toes right there. Talk to me later and let me apologize and try to cover it in grace. But I'm being totally as real as I can be. There are so many that push and pressure their team to recruit for their own personal growth instead of you yourself being your own recruiting machine. And you've got the equation upside down if you feel like pulling the teeth out of your team, out of their mouth and pressuring them for you to meet your goals. It's a partnership, but they have to have goals that are similar, and their goals for silver or gold or senior gold or ruby, while you're working towards senior ruby, emerald, and sapphire, might look different and time frames might be different. And you're going to get really, really, really frustrated when they're not meeting your goals, when the bottom line is you're not recruiting anymore. You quit recruiting and you're relying solely on your team to bring in those 5-10 ambassadors every month. And shame on you and shame on me for that. So I'm speaking to myself. I learned almost as soon as I went Emerald that I had to become a strong recruiting machine as I continued Emerald into Sapphire. And those are just things that we have to learn and know and understand, is that's a continual process in this business. And we partner with our team. We support our team. You've heard servant leadership, and there's books written on servant leadership. And I think that there's a book, I don't know if it's by Maxwell or Simon or who it is. It says Leaders Eat Last. It's a book that I read while I was in corporate America on servant leadership. And you're serving your team and you're partnering with your team, but you're serving them to meet their goals. You're serving them to meet their goals. And through that, yes, you're going to meet some of your goals. But if you have timelines that are pretty heavy timelines, you cannot push your team to help you meet your goals, possibly. Does all that make sense? It's a big soapbox of mine because I see it happen over and over again where we lose momentum, and we're losing momentum because the leader of the teams aren't doing their part and they're only relying on their team, and then frustration happens because we all know the speed of the leader is the speed of the team. And so it's just this whole vicious little cycle if we get stuck there. So bottom line is you got to be recruiting. Your why is a story within itself. It will give you the ability to help your team find their why, and you want to be duplicatable, right? You got to know your why. That's what I was talking about at the very beginning, because guys, whenever you bring on a new ambassador and they are a business builder, this is really one of the biggest areas of training that you've got to do day one, is help them see the vision, help them to see with unlimited time, money and resources, what would you do? My pastor has asked me that several times outside of network marketing. John Maxwell asked that several times. There's so many different leaders. In seminary, I was asked that. So that question is not just a question within network marketing. It is a question for you to start dreaming and start saying, what's my purpose and why do I do what I do and what drives me? So you want to do that with your people. Without a deeply rooted why, you're going to be easily distracted. You'll want to quit every other day. You'll blame your team for not growing when it's really you who's not growing. And you're going to stall and fizzle out when life happens. This is so critical. And I continue to go back to my why is what has rooted me for 4 years. My why is what drove me whenever I was working 50 to 60 hours a week to grow my team, to grow myself, to learn what it meant to be a great recruiter, to know what it meant to network and meet new people and cast out my net even further. My why is what drove all of that. And there's many on this call that want to quit every other day. And there's a lot of stuff there because life does happen. But I think if you have this piece, even when life happens and you go home at night and you're frustrated and ticked off and depressed a little bit and just like, why isn't this working? You still wake up the next morning and say, okay, I'm going to do it all over again today. And that's where you want to get to. So if your why is big enough and it's deep enough, it will give you such a determination that you will get momentum and fly. You will, because you have that. And I loved some of the words that she used. I circled, if y'all could see my book, it's kind of ridiculous, but I circled all of her action words and her verbs. But she talked about the different ones that she said that once they got that why, that's where they flew and that's where they got that momentum. But she would use words like ignited, started running. They had a sense of purpose. She attacked her business. She had an unwavering focus. She was fully committed. And this morning I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about being committed. And I loved their definition. Being committed is doing what you said that you would do. And so for all of us, it made me think about myself saying, I am committed. I am committed to this business. I am committed to my team. But am I doing everything that I said I would do? That goes back to my goals. That goes back to what I say I'm going to do every day. That goes to my yes being yes and my no being no, right? That biblical foundation of what committed means. And it is you doing what you say that you're going to do and being accountable towards that. So reasons why you can't find your why. You don't dig deep enough. And she talked about on page 31, I don't think she used the words peeling back the onion, but it was the whole thing of asking why over and over again. So, I want to travel with my kids. Why? Because they've never seen the United States. Why? Because we've never had the money to afford. Why? Because, it just goes back and back. And so being able to look at those different pieces. And then the second reason she said is that you stopped dreaming. You mired in what is, that we forget what could be. And I love that because we do that, right? We kind of get into that place in life where we're just kind of settled and you just kind of say like, this is my lot in life. Like, this is what it's going to be. And this is what I'm going to do every day. And we end up, I think that's what I've loved over these last 4 years is sometimes we get into a place where we just go to bed and get up the next morning and do it again. And we go to bed and get up the next morning and do it again. This has given us the ability to really dream and to take risk. And there's something that births inside of us when we take risks. That courage that births, that confidence that births, it creates us and builds our character. It changes us. And we don't want to live just mediocre anymore. We see the adventure of depending on the Lord, of praying, of giving all of this to the Lord, of really being vulnerable and allowing our character to be changed and being students. And we begin to dream and we begin to see something different. And I just think it's a beautiful place to be able to do that. It emerges over time, which we've talked about, and it can become about those around you. So I want us to open up for discussion. I'm going to take this off so that we can all see each other. And I want us to talk about how did your why change after reading this chapter? So let's talk a little bit about that. y'all unmute yourselves if you want to share.
I remember at the very beginning, like a year ago, trying to find my why. And I heard all these whys, like to retire my husband, to bring in income to match my husband. And then I said a word like that. My husband looked at me. He's like, oh, no, you won't. Like that is not your job. It is my job to provide for you. And I don't want that to be your goal. Like, I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to step on your toes. Quickly I realized not that he doesn't want me to make an income, but he doesn't want me to carry the burden of providing for our family. That is not my responsibility. Mm-hmm. So it's been difficult, to find like, what is my reason for doing this? Like, what is my reason? And so this really, and I'm still digging, like I'm not done digging, but financial security. When you said your father's was an entrepreneur and he was successful. Well, my father was an entrepreneur and he was not successful. Mm-hmm. It's always like the next idea, the next thing. And we never had enough. I mean, we had enough, for like the bills, but right. I want security for me. And in case something happens to my husband in his line of work, it's dangerous, Mm-hmm. And so I feel like the Lord is setting me up for the future, whatever the future may be. Mm-hmm. Whether he retires and he wants to do ministry full time, then we have this income. Like, don't tell him, hush, hush, but maybe it's God's way to provide for our family in the future. Mm-hmm. So I want to be prepared for whatever it is God has for me in the future. But I want security and I want to know that I can be a successful entrepreneur, even though my father was not.
Right.
And that's huge.
Which is huge.
Huge. Yeah.
It is huge. It's like there's a piece of you that kind of wants to prove, right, that it can be done and it can be done well. Yeah.
I think her husband's response is very interesting, and that just brings it back to why it's important for it to be about you first.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, the benefits will be there later and it will benefit the family and everyone will, reap the rewards. But yeah, that's interesting response.
Yeah. Well, Melissa? And he loves what he does. So for her to say, I'm going to retire you. And he's like, but I'm not ready. Like, don't take away what my purpose is. You're taking away my purpose. Laura, were you going to say something?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say that, I've talked about my why a lot, and it's just really deep as, as far as like really creating a life for Hunter after we're gone, and just what it's going to look like. And without Plexus, it's not going to look good. And we have to do this. Right. But then I started really reading this going, you know what? It's not for him. I mean, it is, but it's really for me. It's the same why, but it is really for me, because honestly, to be 100% honest, and Daryl's on this call too, so I won't make him talk. But I mean, our life just sucks sometimes. Mm-hmm. It just does. I mean, I can't even say anything else about it except for the fact that I am tired of this, mm-hmm. Being like this. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of being in a car on Tuesday night doing this call from Carrollton because I need somebody to drive him so that, I don't want to drive him every single where, right. And I'm tired of it. And and so, yes, it's for me, it's quality of life. It's like for me too, though.
Right.
Right. So, I mean yes, it is.
I love that. And I love you for just your vulnerability and your passion. And you are so driven. And it is for you. And ultimately for him. And I think it's for you too. Just, it is I don't even know the right word, but to know that you can be in a position that no matter what happens to you and Daryl, that he will be taken care of. Yeah. There's some
peace.
type of peace. Right. Yeah. There's a peace.
To know that it's all going to be fine.
That's
no
right.
matter what.
And that's
well, Laura, it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
It's that huge responsibility, and you being you want to make sure you're taking care of your responsibility.
Right.
I see that all the time.
Yeah. Anybody else want to share? Okay.
I'll share a little bit real quick. I know
Thank you.
this was really hard for me. I
Mhm.
Because there's things like, it's like you don't want to bring out, like, I almost feel selfish. And I know when she said it has to be about you, I was like, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better, because as I'm really thinking about it, and I still feel like Megan, I have to keep peeling back. But
Mhm.
when I first started, it was like helping pay for college. Well, really, okay, I already have one through college, and I have two other ones there, but do I really need to help? I mean, we'll still get by. So I had to keep digging, like, that's really not the reason.
That's
I mean,
right.
it didn't really keep my back against the wall kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it wasn't necessarily for me. So I'm still digging on this, but it comes to where I have always been dependent on my husband. From the moment I graduated college, we got married really quick. And even though I worked, but he was always and I know a lot of people would like that, but he was always the provider and secure. And I actually felt good about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I never felt like I always had that lane that I had to be in. And he didn't make me feel like I had to ask him for permission or anything for anything. But I always feel like, okay, it's not really my money. I can't really do what I want to do, but it is. But I just always had that feeling. And my mom had also, she was widowed early, so she had to provide. I mean, she cleaned houses. She had to do whatever she had to do. So that's kind of in the back of my mind too, where I'm like, okay, if something happened right now, I'm like, I have a college degree, but if I go out in the world, I'm still starting from the very bottom. I wouldn't even be making what these kids make nowadays when they just graduate.
Right.
So, I mean, there's still more to it, but that was just, I think, knowing that I can do this, and that I can do something and actually start and finish and do something more than being a mom and a wife, which
And
are
be
great.
proud of yourself, but be
Yeah.
proud of yourself that,
Yeah.
that this is yours and that you can do it, and
Yeah.
that you have the ability to do it. Well, keep digging.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who else are you I want to hear who's having a hard time digging into it.
I'm going to pop.
Yeah.
Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yep.
I think that when I was reading it, I think that the more I stew on it, that my why changes a lot from the immediate need for resuming medical treatment and not having insurance and not having the funds for that, to more long-term of being self-sufficient and providing, for myself, independent, having to kind of reestablish that. And so pretty stuck in my here now versus long-term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and one thing that she said in our chapter was, for one of the girls, I remember it was her why was to get food on the table, right? Like to pay for groceries. And her why evolved. But in the beginning, it was really to survive, to have food for her family. And then it moved from there. So I do think that you kind of see a long term, but your immediate is for your health and for you to be able to get the just the therapy and the work and the doctors and the medical and all of that for where you are right now. And that is your immediate, is to take care of yourself. That's your immediate, is to take care of me so that I do have longevity, right? So that I can function, so that I can get through days without severe headaches. And so that's a huge why, is to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But I do love that you see that it will evolve eventually. But today it's to get through.
Yeah, I see long term, but right now it's very urgent type things.
Yeah, it's right in front of you. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think that's good motivation.
I do too. It's huge motivation. I think too, you're seeing how far you're coming and how well you're doing, and you're building an incredible business while you still have so many limitations, which is such an inspiration. So it's really a big deal. Anybody else?
Yeah, I was wanting
Go
to.
ahead.
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Okay.
Go
I
first.
just wanted to say, as I was reading this, and I was really, I don't know if the word is humbled, but like, sorry. Okay, again, I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. Sorry. I don't know if the word is humbled. When I start talking, my dog starts like getting on my legs. Sorry if she comes into the picture. I don't know what the word was. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it got me thinking about the and it wasn't this when I started is what I'm trying to get at. It was more about the business and like me personally, not just like what I want and this, but it got me like, it just like brought up a lot of emotion about my past and my childhood and just a lot of things about how I've never been told that I could do something. In fact, I've been told that I never, like that I can't, you know. With siblings, with people in high school. I went to a really privileged private school where you had to be this kind of person, and if you weren't good enough. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've been dealing with that a lot in the past year and a half, 2 years or so, and working through that and realizing I don't have to be that, right? And then doing this business and having to like uncover a lot of things, it brought out a lot, and so it's kind of brought out a little bit of a why, like. I want to be successful at something, and I want people to see that, and I want to be, I don't know. I think that was in the way back of my subconscious. Like when I signed up, I remember I was telling like Caroline had to do no convincing. I was just like, sure, let's do it. You know, like I want to do it. And then I had no idea what I was doing, but I think that was in the back of my head, and it has been. And it wasn't until I read that. I think it said it in the book at some point, like, I want to be successful for once. And I was just like, like, that's what I've been searching for, this, like, why of, like, I'm like, I don't really know, because, I mean, I don't have a deep desire to be, like, filthy rich or, you know, whatever it is. It'd be cool. But, you know, we have food, we have this, we have that. But I was thinking about that, and I was just like, man, that's what I want. Is I want to be successful, like not like I want to do something right for once, you know, and it's mine. I have complete control over it. So everything else that's a why has to go with like, I want to be successful. But anything that is a why, I want to do this, I want to do this, has to go back to the fact that I want to do something right for once, you know.
Well, and quit saying I want to do something right for once, because girl, you do stuff right every single day, and I applaud you every day. You inspire me. You're so incredibly creative. You love so deeply. You do a lot of things right. So get that out of your little mind. I love that you want to be successful, and I love that you even have the idea of letting other people see, I am somebody, and I can do this, and I am good at what I do. I love that. That's a great reason. But don't say I want to do something right, because you do it every single day. You're a beautiful, beautiful person. So
thank you.
Anybody else?
I was just going to add to what Chris was saying.
Mm-hmm.
About medical and this and that. I lived through that with my dad. My parents, my dad, very successful. My mom never worked ever, never had to. I grew up very comfortably. My dad got sick with ALS. His entire future, he had totally planned out. Corporate America, retirement, etc., was wiped out in 8 years. With his disease, and my mother was left with nothing. Nothing. I mean, her Social Security, and that's it. And that's not, you know. And then so it was twofold to watch how that happened to them, and also I didn't have the means to help. And so, you know, it's a big part of my why is the financial security to help. Of course, you know, nothing is 100% secure other than where you're going to end up, but just to watch how, a system failed my parents, and we couldn't get the care that we needed, and we had to step up as a family and do everything instead. And exhausting, absolutely exhausting, and expensive. $50,000 a month is what it costs to take care of my dad.
Wow.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And we ended up in, that we said we'd never go to a nursing home. We did. Of course, we did the work, but we were there because we had to have the help. So,
right.
To be in a position where you're not well, and your insurance gets to dictate what you get and what you don't get.
Right.
This kind of business can change that for you.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I just see that, but I have multiple whys. I'm not finished totally digging, but it's very financial for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
absolutely.
99.9% financial, and I happen to want that more than my husband. So
yeah,
I better figure out how to do it. So.
That's right. That's right.
He's fine with dirt floors in a shack. It'd be just fine with him. So not okay with me. Like, right. I'm looking forward to flying out tomorrow to Florida. So
right.
Anyway, that's that's for me.
That's huge.
A little bit nicer things. I like.
That's right.
And I like to take care of my people. So
right.
Anyway, like I said, it's mine's pretty complicated. So
yeah,
there's more.
A lot of pieces.
Well, I still haven't packed.
Oh, girl.
Here's my suitcase. It's almost done. Anyway, I fly out tomorrow. So I'll be quiet on that.
Yeah.
But Chris, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
And yay, shout out. I hope it's okay I say you had a good visit today with your doctor.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, she is.
It was great to see her so excited about me being on the products, and she said she couldn't believe what a huge turnaround it had been after everything I had been through. So it was encouraging.
That's incredible. Yay. All right, let's look at goals. She really worked through this one bite at a time. You got to know your why before you start setting your goals. Goals lead you to achievement. Take your goals and break them down into doable steps, which we're going to walk through. This takes time, but it's critical to your success, so don't overstep this portion of the process. I think we talked about this last week, that if you aren't a goal setter and you are not sharing that you are doing goals and then sharing with your team that they should be doing goals, you've just broken the chain of the process of duplication of growing a really strong, momentum, steady team, because goals are everything for us in our business. So make sure that you're doing that. So this is pretty small, but I kind of want to put the SMART piece on here. You've got to be specific. What do I want to accomplish? When do I want to accomplish it? And why do I want to accomplish it? I love that. This kind of goes deep down into, digging out your why again. And you are going to be doing this not just for, depending on, where you're going and what your goals are and what your time frame is. It Emerald, which I know everyone on here we're all shooting for Emerald by July 31st, which means that we should be seeing tons of ambassadors being recruited this month. And reality is we're not seeing that. So we got to be working on that if everyone's going towards Emerald. But so what do I need to accomplish? When do I want to do it? Those should be your big goals, because July 31st is your Emerald deadline, and then you've got to back off from that, and then you've got to do monthly goals when that. And then why do I want to accomplish it? Like what's in it that's making me be driven to go for it? Then M is for measurable. By X date, that by July 31st, I will have whatever. One of my big goals every month is a $4,000 PV. So that's my goal every month. I don't hit it every single month. I think I get up to about 2,800. I'll have X number of ambassadors and I would have promoted to X. So whatever that looks like. But you've also got to do that. If you're hitting for Emerald of July 31st, you've got to back that up. If you're not silver yet, you got to be putting in silver. Silver, if you're not silver today and you're on this call, you should be going silver in October. But you've got to put it down for silver, for gold, for senior gold. So you really do have to back it up to have your other goals so that you can set timelines. It's got to be achievable. You need to work hard. You've got to put your head down, your blinders on, and be totally focused. And I loved how she talked about, doing those stretch goals, because you want to be challenged, guys. Set those milestones and be realistic in it, which is the next point, but set them so that you can be challenged. Because even if you don't reach them, if you're really pushing hard to reach them, it's still going to take you farther and it's going to make you go faster. So don't be mediocre with your business. Be realistic. If you have a big, audacious goal, your time to accomplish that goal is key. So how long will it take? I think I showed you the Emerald chart last week, and you've been looking at that, and I really want to talk through it if you want to talk through it. But you see those numbers and the things that are going on. So be realistic towards that. And then time bound. You have to have an urgency. These are good for daily goals. I think that that's such an important piece whenever I was reading through this is time bound for, October, for November, but also time bound and have an urgency within your daily goals. Because this is where I honestly think that we get messy and we procrastinate and we put it off until the last week and then we don't meet our goals. And so you got to have an urgency every single day. Set timers for yourself. If you only have an hour to work every day, then set a timer for 15-minute increments and really get a ton done in those 15 minutes. I always am setting timers because I work better under deadlines. I could sit here because I can and do 5 hours and have gotten nothing done that was productive because in my mind I was like, oh, well, I've got time. I've got 5 hours today that I can do this. Or I can set a really strong urgency and say, in 1 hour, I'm going to knock it out. I'm going to get everything done. And then I'm going to do these things the rest of the day or whatever it looks like. But even if I have 3 hours to work a day or 5 hours, I set timers to move myself through the day so that I'm not procrastinating and then I don't get anything done that day. So make sure you're doing that. Goals without a timeline is just a dream. And we always talk about dreaming, but if you want the dreams to become a reality, you have to set the goals. So track yourself, such an important piece. Are you growing? Are you advancing? We got together last month. Everyone drew their line in the sand last month and we started moving. Are you seeing growth in October? Are you seeing advancement? Are you having small celebrations of things that are going on? She really talked about setting those monetary incentives and coupling that even with corporate incentives. Now, everyone's a little different about incentives, but for her, incentives drive her. It sounded like that she's really challenged with contests. So she uses those to help her meet her goals. The monetary incentive, I think, is a really big one. I know for me, monetary incentives for myself I set goals around monetary. That was a really big piece for me, especially whenever I resigned last year. Because when I resigned, I was an Emerald and I had an Emerald salary plus a full-time salary. And so resigning, I got to resign, right? But I lost a huge salary. And we felt it and we knew we were going to feel it. So monetary goals and incentives were really big deals for me of hitting certain monetary points for me. Within every range, as you know, you can make a range of a salary. And I was doing everything possible to have my range of salary at the top points so that I could be getting to a place to make up what I was losing financially. So look at that for yourself and say, what are those monetary goals that I can say in October, I need to make this much? And then look at how to do that. Like, what does that look like to be able to do that? How many ambassadors, how many welcome packs, how many bonuses, how many people on your team, different things like that. Write down your goals and declare them. Speak them out loud. Be accountable to them. I really don't know that we are really strong on keeping each other accountable with our goals. I know with my level ones, I ask them what their goals are for the month and what their team goals are for the month. And so we definitely speak them, but in the end, I can encourage and love them and try to keep them accountable, but I can't make them do anything. But her whole point is if we declare them, it just makes it that much more. Whenever we kind of bring it out into the light, it makes us that much more of a desire to bring them to fruition. So you got to believe that they're possible. You've got to be intentional. And then she spoke about dream boards. We talked last week about journaling and vision journaling and all of those pieces. They're so important whenever you're setting your goals. Goals are met in the day-to-day process. So make sure that if you have a pretty big goal for October, maybe write down your goals right now that you kind of your big goals that you set for October. We are on October the 17th. You have just a little under, half of your month left. If you've met none of your goals, you've got to get your rear end in gear, right? If you've met all of your goals, then you didn't set your goals high enough. And so tonight, I want you to set new goals for the end of month. But it's every single day of you being able to meet those goals in the end. At the end of the day, to grow your business, you need people. So are you praying about those people? Are you meeting them? Are you bringing value to them? Are you sharing plexus with them? You've got to fall in love with the process. And I love how she said that. She said, fall in love with the people, fall in love with the process. And don't just say it, do it. Like the rubber meets the road here. And a lot of us are really great talkers, but we aren't doers. And it's the doing part that has to happen for us to be able to be successful. So then we go into the list, and she says that the list is your life. And I want us to talk about this whenever we open it up for discussion again. It's a living and breathing document, if you will. And I loved her analogy of withdrawals and deposits in the bank. And so when you are taking out withdrawals and taking out money, you've got to be depositing back into that. She talked a lot about not prejudging or predetermining. And I thought that was so great. I know for many of us, we kind of set something up and say, I know I've done this many times in training, my new level ones, get everybody written down. And then let's look at, your top 20 and 10 of them that you think would need the products and 10 that might need this opportunity. And I love that she was like, don't prejudge that and don't predetermine that. Like you just get them all written down. Don't tailor your conversation. And that was such a key point. Let them choose how they want to be involved. You just share. But that means that you need to be sharing the opportunity. And that's one thing for all of us in this group is we have to be sharing the opportunity more than we're sharing it today. So many of us are saying, I don't have business builders. I'm still looking for my runner. I'm still looking for someone to partner with me. But if you're not sharing the opportunity up front, what was your expectation? Because if you're just sharing the product and bringing them on as a wholesale ambassador, you can't get frustrated with it. You've got to only get frustrated with yourself because you're the one not sharing the opportunity. And we're always told if we share the opportunity first and they hear the opportunity, they can then go from opportunity to product and just be on the product or product to referral. But if you start just sharing from a health and wellness, hey, you need these products, usually they're not going to move up. It's just the few of us that have said, man, I jumped in for the products and I saw the business opportunity and I ran with it. But look at the small percentage on your team that actually does that. So you've got to start having the conversations on the opportunity side. You got to have those dream teamers. And guys, I thought that this was such an important piece. She talked about seeing, do they have a magnetic personality? Have they already been successful in something in life, like projects or a career or different things like that? Are they influences? Do they like to have fun? And I love that she told us all of those. Those are the people that you're looking for your dream team. And I think that we all have them. But don't let this list define if you can do this business. That was just so key for me, because as we're all making our list, and she tells us not to prejudge or predetermine and all those different pieces, there's different ones of us that might not have influencers in our world today when we're getting started, or we might not know a lot of people that have a lot of fun because maybe we're a serious personality, or maybe we haven't really met a lot of people that are successful yet. And I don't want any of us to discount and say, man, if I don't know those type of characteristics in people, maybe I can't do this. That would be just like saying to Christy White, you aren't going to be successful in network marketing because what was her number of friends? I think 200 friends, or she lived in a population of 400 people and only had so many friends on Facebook, and she's a diamond today. So I don't want us to equate that to go, wow, I know none of these characteristics. Maybe I can't do this. Bottom line is, network marketing is about your circle of influence and your network of people, and plugging into their network of people who plug into their network of people. And that's where I personally feel like that you need to focus. Yes, we need influencers. Yes, we need to know people who are successful. But I just don't want us to get stuck there, because there's a lot of people that we probably wouldn't have on our dream team that are now diamonds in the company. I think of an introvert. I think of a Jessica Heffley, who was an introvert. And I don't know that she would say she has a magnetic personality. She was successful. She was doing a business before. I don't know that she would have said she was a heavy influencer. Those things didn't come out until she became this unbelievable leader and became such an influencer. So I think that there's dream teamers that we are looking at today in our world of wherever it is that we kind of do life, that we don't even realize what's in them, and they don't even know what's in themselves. So don't predetermine and prejudge in those ways. Your list is your lifeline. She talked about a chicken list of those people that you're scared half to death to talk to, and your dirt list, those people that would do anything to support you. How many people do you know? And I loved this, where she calculated in 3 different ways how many people that we should know. I think the biggest number was at least 600, and the least number was 152, something like that. But how people will still say, like, if you try to help them think through, the Frank's list, or I think I put a post out on our team page a couple of months ago on the Alice list of kind of just prompting you. And she gave us a way to even do it in our book. And I hope that you did it. But I thought it was so cool, not cool, but just a reality check. If someone's like, nope, I only know 20, like 20 is all I know, then, I don't know if this is your profession. My thing is, be challenged to say, I only know 20 today, but I know that I can know 100 in a month. And that's me getting out there and meeting people, right? So what is their own looking at their potential and what they can do, and kind of opening that lid a little bit. And then she talked about, we've got to be adding people daily, weekly, and monthly. So we've always got to be putting people into the funnel of our business. We talked a lot about managing your list and getting a system. A lot of people do the index box system. She talked about Word documents or Excel spreadsheets or having a notebook. I really want to hear from you guys. So put a note here. I want to know how you manage your list. And if you're having a problem managing your list, I want you to share that so that we can help you with that. Go where the people are. We talk about this a lot. Go to the coffee houses, the library, the playground, sports events. What do you love to do? And you've got to join the party. I know on my in my book, I was trying to flip over, I just put a note to myself, like, what do you love to do? And I wrote down, you know, those things of what I need to kind of reset on. You know, I love working out. I love teaching the Word of God and doing Bible studies. I love coffee houses. I love networking groups. Like, writing all of those down, go to where the people are, but do the things that you love. What are your hobbies? What are your interests? Because that's where you're going to meet new circles of influence to be able to build your list, right? And then that keep falling in love with people, and never forget how bad you want this, right? Which goes back to your why. So never, ever forget that. Be presentable. I thought that this was awesome. I thought so much about, you know, the mamas, and I have a lot of friends that are very successful in this business, and they just, you know, like, I love it because they don't want to take a shower or put on their makeup, or they want to wear baseball hats every day. And I think that that's part of the freedom of what we do, is that we have that freedom. But the bottom line is that you don't want to scare people off, that you want to be confident in how you look so that that person basically knows that you're legit. And I do think that we can do that in different ways. I think that baseball hats and sweatshirts and no makeup a day or two, like whenever things are going on in life, I think that in itself makes us legit too, because it says I'm a real person with a lot of stuff going on and I'm very successful. I think the bottom line is your posture and your confidence of who you are and how you walk into a room and how you make eye contact with people. I think that is what makes you legit. So I thought it was cool of just how she talked towards that. But the bottom line is, how do you present yourself? What's your posture? How do you love people? Just by looking at them, smiling at them, the compassion you have towards them, and having that confidence in yourself for them to know that you're real, that you're the real deal. So ways to talk, to start conversations: be friendly, say hello, look them in the eye. One thing she said was ask if they're local. And if they're not, expand your business to them to say, hey, I wanted to, you know, expand my business in that area of the country, and see if they would be interested in hearing about the opportunity so they can help you do that. Be resourceful. Keep your eyes open. Listen for opportunities to bring value to that person. That's such a key piece, is you bringing value to another. And then use your business as a problem solver. So as you're listening to people and you're asking questions, and you really do have to get really good at asking the right questions. You don't want to be the one always talking. You want to be asking the questions so that they're talking. But through those conversations, whenever you hear different things with health issues or job issues or family matters, then you have the solution. You can be the problem solver for them. So I'm going to open it back up again. How are you adding to your list every day? And I want to hear from you on this. How are you guys doing this?
Okay, mine might seem a little bit unproductive, but it's actually been pretty productive for me. I just, lately, like at school, if I don't have my note card box with me or something like that, and I just have a minute in between classes or at lunch or something, I will just scroll through Facebook, just kind of scroll and scroll. A lot of it is plexus people, so I just kind of keep scrolling past. And I did this the other day when we had to reach out to 5 people. It was like 5 and 5, something else. I don't remember what the criteria was. But the first person I found, just that I hadn't talked to in a while or something, and I did like what Megan said. It must have been today or yesterday. But I did what Megan said on the call of, hey, it's been a really long time. This is out of the blue, but blah, blah, blah. And so that's how I've been expanding my list, is just finding those people. And none of these people have been on my list. And they were just people I haven't talked to in a while. It's just the first name I saw, and just sent a message right away, and then kept going until I found more.
Yeah. That's great. You know, saying happy birthday to people, I notice a lot of those people aren't on my list. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, why are they not on my list? And it's like people from high school or people from church, And all of a sudden that prompts me, and I immediately, write them down and reach out to them, not only on wishing them happy birthday, but sending a voicemail to them as well and getting that conversation started. So that's a great prompter for you as well. How else are you adding?
Well, as far as just engaging with people so that I can try to find some to add, because I've been at this a while. And so, my list, as far as my warm market and all that, been through that a few times. But saying yes to invitations.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a little bit like you, Melissa, in that I'm not just a real social butterfly all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy, parties and stuff like that. They're a lot of fun. But I get, like, just last night, I went to an event that I was invited to. I had to miss the call for it.
Mm-hmm.
But my first instinct was to go, yeah, I don't know, I don't know if I want to commit to that. I got a lot going on this week. Got a lot, a lot of things to try to do. And I thought, I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go to these things and interact with people and meet new people, and ended up with a couple of new Facebook friends
Mm-hmm.
last night. So, and had really great conversations with people. So trying to be intentional about saying yes to things when I get invited.
Yeah. And that's a huge one. And I love that you did that. And for me, that's going to be possibly an area of sacrifice, right? That's going to be your sacrifice. So whether it's time, you're sacrificing your time and you feel like you can't give it up. Or for me, my sacrifice is I'm an introvert, and you might as well pull out all of my teeth to say yes to an invitation, just because it is not my comfort. But I have to put on my big girl panties, and I have to go, and I have to smile, and I ended up having a great time. But between my house and that location, oh my goodness, I'm like going crazy and beating myself up as to why did I say yes and I should have said no, and who's going to be there, and am I going to be uncomfortable, and do I have the energy to have the conversation? Like introverts go through. So the sacrifice might be that you still have to say yes. You just have to get over yourself, right?
And this particular person has great parties and events, and it's I've been there to things at her house before, and it's always people I don't know. A lot of the people there are people I don't know, and so there's that. I love her, but the parties can be, it can be really uncomfortable when you walk into an event like that and you may know 2 people out of 20.
Right.
And so, and then you have to bring a lot of stuff. So
yeah,
you got to bring food and a little thing for the party. Yeah. So that's the effort, involved. Kind of made me want to go, I don't know, but I went and it was great.
It was great. And you met new people, which is fantastic. So I love that. And, so if that's a hard piece for you, I would say you need to jot that down and make it a goal that you go to one event a week or one event a month. Maybe it's one event where you're meeting new people. Set those goals, get out of your comfort zone, because you're going to meet people. And it's good for your character. It's good to build you and to grow yourself and to develop yourself. It's kind of like what she said, you've got to come to a place where you love people and you love to meet people. I would be very happy to not meet a new person. I love meeting them once I get there, and I'm great one-on-one, but I'm not good in crowds. I'm just not, unless I'm leading a crowd. But if I'm there, outside of being a leader and having something to do, because that gives me something to do. If I'm just there, you just have to get out of your comfort zone. You just have to do it. And my why is big enough for me to do that. So who else? How are you adding?
I'm a chaperone with the Plano East Band, and it's real easy for me to just hang out with the parents that I know, that I've known since my kid was in 6th grade. And so for me, I've tried to make a point of like talking to people that are like from a different school that I don't know, they don't know me, just so I can kind of make the relationships. And then I try to really listen just as I see them around to see, to see if they have any health issues, or talk about being exhausted, or just so I can say, hey, I may have something that can help, with that, and try to lead it real naturally into place. It's not the first second I meet them.
I love that. I love that. That's a big one, guys, right? Because we're so comfortable with our friends. And I think a lot of times if we are like, but it's been a really long day or a really long week and it's a Friday night, and I just kind of want to be with my people. But if you're growing a business, you need to step out of your comfort zone and be with other people. So I love that point because it's so easy for us to hang just with our people. Who else?
I'll go. I joined Facebook groups. And so, but I didn't just go and friend a bunch of people like other people had. Just trying to make, conversations with a few people here who I start, just getting active in those groups. And so I guess I've had about, probably not as many friends, but about 5 people that I'm very active with at least. And I'm seeing their posts, they're commenting on my stuff. So that's good. And even with the trip I just took, I just am being more intentional and making conversations with people because I would rather just be on the airplane, put my earbuds in, or go to sleep and not talk. Right. But I'm being more intentional, even though I don't always know what to say, but just trying to have conversation. Right. Especially when I'm traveling with my husband because he does talk. So I'm always him in the back and not talking. I'm just trying to get out there more and keep doing it so I'm more comfortable and comfortable in having conversation with strangers.
Right. Absolutely. Those are great points.
And Instagram's another one too.
Oh, you're doing Instagram as well?
I do, but it's a little bit different because it's just a different types of people. So you don't know who's always following you. If they start to follow you, you'll send them a message back. Hey, thanks for following me. This is who I am. I haven't worked that as well, but just trying to at least have some contact with them.
Right. I want to hear from the mamas. So if you are a mama and you feel like that you're at home more, and so you hear about love people, get to see people, be where the people are, what does it look like for your business? How would you incorporate that into your business?
I joined PTO this year, which I did not do with my older daughter. So I decided to go for it with I have a 10-year-old as well. So, and there are familiar faces in there. So that was nice. So I put myself out there with PTO.
I love that.
Trying that.
And you're meeting them and being intentional with them. And
I have a little the Plexus pop socket on the back of my phone. And I brought my Plexus water bottle with me to the first, I don't want to just bleh on everybody. Right. So just kind of maybe starting, if they hear of Plexus, they'll think of me in the PTO group.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Megan talked towards that last night, be the person that as you are in the community, posting on Facebook, that you come to the place where people, when they think of Plexus, they think of you. So like that with you and Billy is, wherever you are having that conversation and also representing yourself well, right? That's another thing that Megan talked about last night is representing yourself well. As far as if you're part of a health and wellness, you need to represent yourself as health and wellness as well.
I did sign up to bring salad to the to the teacher appreciation next week. So I signed up for a healthy,
awesome, that's good. And when you go, make sure that you take some Slim Sticks with you, right? And they're in your purse.
Right.
And so as you're having those conversations, there's a huge possibility that you'll get to hand out some samples of that, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's good. Anybody else?
I enjoy taking my kids to the park and maybe just making small, I remember actually, can you hear me? Yes. Yeah. Okay. I have don't usually wear my earbuds, but I remember being on a leadership call with you, Melissa, and I took my kids to the park and we're reading about, being a leader and, connecting with people or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I had chapters to read, but there's this mom sitting on a bench next to me, So I'm like, okay, do I be intentional, put the book down and pay attention to the people around me, or do I stay in my world and do my homework?
Right.
Like I'm going to benefit in my business both ways, but one's more comfortable than the other. And so I think we're constantly challenged to look around us and engage with people, and it's not comfortable. And people aren't used to that. People are used to sticking to their phones, sticking to their computers, getting in and out of the store, not talking to strangers or whatever. But I've always been one to make small talk. I think sometimes I make my husband feel uncomfortable because he's like, why did you know that girl? Like, why are you talking to her? I'm like, because I just want to talk to her. Like, I think people aren't used to it. But if it comes around, like at the park with that mom, I was able to, after we found a common ground with our kids or homeschool or whatever it was, why are your kids at the park in the middle of the day? Mine are here because we're homeschooled. We found some common ground. Then I was like, oh, I'd love to keep up with you on Facebook. Are you on Facebook? Can I add you? And I just get my phone out and, I'd love to find you. She's like, oh, I'm not on Facebook. I'm like, oh, darn. Well, like then you have to be more intentional with like the phone calls or the meetups or whatever. Because, I guess I can plan more play dates, but life is busy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I try to be intentionally meeting with people or talking with people, but if I can add them on Facebook, then we can kind of like have conversation there. I did add someone from my daughter's recent acting class, and she just signed up with Edge. She's going to take Edge on their family vacation, but her goal is to really find out more about our probiotic as well. So her foot's in the door. She's a customer of mine. I just met her 2 weeks ago at my daughter's. So you just add people on Facebook, and then kind of they'll see your posts, your new friends, kind of engage with them and then go from there. So
I love that.
They're on Facebook.
Tell me a little bit about how she started just on Edge. How did the conversation go for you to find out that was good for her?
Right. I think we were talking about, well, she's interested in the probiotic. So she was liking some of my Plexus posts. So I reached out to her. I said, have you heard about, are you interested in Plexus, or are you on a probiotic? Is that something that you need or something like that? She's like, my mom has had me on probiotics since I was a little girl. I know they're important. I know the power of them, but we're not on anything right now. I'm curious as to why yours is different. So I said, yes, let's have a conversation about that. But then I guess it came around to wanting energy. What are your health needs? Well, I really need some energy for this trip I'm going on. And so I started talking with her about the cost, knowing that Slim is the way to go for sustained energy and balance, but she's going on the trip next week. So I would assume there'd be some detox, maybe some die-off, stuff like that. And the cost didn't really fit in with their trip budget as well. So I was like, $30, and I told her up front, I have a friend who will take half, and she breaks Edge open and can only handle a half because it bothers her system. Like she needs a lift once in a while, but not a whole capsule. I have another friend, actually I was visiting with them both at that park the same day. The other friend takes Edge and doesn't feel a thing. So I told her, when your Edge comes in, take a pill before you go on your trip and see how you feel. Just see how your body responds before you're on vacation, in California, and you start something new. So she said, that's smart. I'll do that. So yeah, we're looking for a quick energy fix, but my goal would be to get her on the triplex if she can.
No, I love
that.
The whole point is that you ask a lot of questions and you figured out what was best for her. And once you get a customer, then you can educate on others. So I just wanted everybody to hear how you got to that spot. That's really cool. Anybody else? Anybody having a hard time getting their list together? Does everyone have a list that they are working off of? Okay. Does anybody have any questions on your why, or on your list, or on meeting people? Good. Any comments before Nicole? Let's see. Let me see what she's saying real quick. I recently joined my town's chamber, and I've met a lot more people, so I'm hoping to reach out more. I think, Nicole, that is going to be one of your greatest areas of meeting. Is in your chamber. I'm so proud of you for doing that, especially because of everything that you do. Chamber is an excellent place, and a lot of people in network marketing forget about their chamber, And giving back to your community is one of the biggest things that you can do. And if you want to have longevity in your business and really be seen and respected in your business, I think chambers are one of the biggest areas that we forget. And you're going to meet so many people in that area, and you're going to get to share in your 30 seconds and the different things that they do as to what you do. But, and I know you already know this, but make sure that you're there every single week that you can be there, because seeing your face over and over again, especially in network marketing, is going to let them know that you desire to have longevity. So that's a huge one if you guys have chambers in your areas, to be able to get involved in there, because you're getting involved in your community and you're saying, I want to give to my community, I want to give time to my community, and you're showing them that you're legit. So that's a fantastic one. Anybody else? Okay, so does everybody have an area that they are going to start expanding their network? Did y'all find, whether it's a hobby or an interest, getting in where the people are? Does everybody have one that they're going to start jumping into in October, November? Yes. Sharon, tell me a little bit about you. You're full-time, so tell me how this is looking for you. Were you able to read chapters 2 and 3? Unmute.
Yes, I've read all the chapters, yes.
How are you feeling towards it, knowing, because I know you work full-time, I know you have late hours. How are you incorporating this?
There are days it's more difficult, but then that just means that when you can, you squeeze it in.
Are you feeling good about everything?
Oh, yeah.
Good. You have a good list going?
Yeah, I have over 1,000 Facebook friends, so my list is pretty lengthy. Although, I mean, those are not necessarily people I know, so it is a different situation for me to reach out, because basically I am reaching out to share Plexus, and so I'm just more direct about that.
Yeah. You were on last night's call with Megan, right?
Yeah, well, half of it, the last half.
Okay. Those scripts are really, really, weren't those scripts great?
Yes,
really
those
great scripts.
Great, yes.
Yeah. Good. All right, guys. If there's no more questions, we're going to get going for the night. I so appreciate your time. And next week we will be doing chapters 4 and 5. So be ready for next week as well. Okay. Y'all have a great night.